I have to tell you, this was an exciting show. It really was. I don't think people can understand how exciting it is when you consider our proximity to those singers, too. We're so close to them, and we've been so close the whole time. When we got into the theater tonight with this big crowd and the much bigger stage, it was really special. I felt really, really proud to be up there. I'm gonna miss it a lot. You know, I think Ryan is probably struggling deeply with this. Not that, you know, he wishes it could continue, but it's time to move on to the next chapter for all of us. And watching him sort of keep his emotions in check is pretty intense. You know, he's the best in the business, and to see him and to see Jenny and Keith and all of the people involved with this show sort of realizing tomorrow's the last show I tell you, it's an honor for me to have been a small part of it. Well, as a fan, I would sit on the couch with my wife and my then very little girls and yell at the TV just like they would, and I could have done a better job than Simon Cowell, you know. And then I got to be a mentor for a couple of seasons and got to see it up close, and I loved that part of it. And then I got to be a judge, and I realized, first of all, but that there'll never be another Simon Cowell. He's got that all to himself, and how great that original panel was. But to sit up there is really profound. I mean, this is one of the most powerful shows in the history of American television, and it's overwhelming to think about how many lives that it's changed. And I'm one of those people. I could go on and on about all of the things that I've gained from being on this show, but it's been a very special experience for sure. Yeah. Well, I think when Simon Fuller gave them great choices. So when Trent sang "If You Don't Know Me By Now," I thought he did a pretty good job. I thought LaPorsha did an extraordinary job with "A House Is Not a Home." There's a lot of stuff going on in that song musically, and it's very telling to somebody who knows a little bit about harmony, a little bit about time signatures and the technical stuff, that she clearly knows what she's doing. Certainly for where she is in her life right now, that was a pretty great performance. But then they both came out and sang that individual Sia songs, and I couldn't tell you. I just couldn't tell you. I think it's apples and oranges, and whoever gets the most votes is going to win. But they both were. That is really hard to do. And when you think about them standing on that huge stage by themselves, I mean, when's the last time you went to a concert and you saw that? Unless you went to Ultra and they have a DJ by himself. When's the last time you saw a performer standing completely alone on one of the biggest stages around? It's not easy to do. And these are young kids doing it. You know, I forget how old Trent is. I think LaPorsha's 22 or something. That is really something else. And I got to give it up for Dalton, too. He did a great job, too. So all of them have been really good. Well, if it's all about the fans, you know, I think when people started catching on to this show, the first couple of years, that's why it became what it was. American Idol has been brilliant at giving the fans something to root for. And I love, for me, to be able to meet those people. That's what makes me feel good, you know. And when you see how excited they are to be in that environment, maybe from out of town for the first time, I don't take that stuff for granted. You know, I feel really lucky to be up there on that panel, and I try to see as many of them as I can. There's sweet, sweet people out there. I got to tell you, if the winner of American Idol wanted to come and be on the Harry Show, it'd be pretty tough to turn them down. I mean, these are two great talents, you know, and we'd love to have them for sure. I have something really, really special. It's something that I can say I've never done it in this particular way. The song I'm singing is "What a Wonderful World," which is a song everybody knows. But I'm singing it with somebody, and all I can tell you is it's going to, regardless of my performance, I can tell you in advance it's going to be very special. You know, just for selfish reasons, I like the seasons when I got to mentor. That's what I really like to do, is getting in the room with people. I remember those sessions, and I would get there at 10 in the morning and walk out of there, you know, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Just because we're talking about music and it's exciting and what do you think and here's what I think and hey, maybe you could try this. You don't get to do that as a judge. And I love being a judge, but I really miss, that's more of who I am. I kind of grew up in that environment where there was more of a dialogue going on. I'm not really a judgmental kind of person. You know, I'll do it, and I did it, but I like those mentoring years. Those were fun.
Doing the audition cities was always the most fun part of the gig for me, which is so strange because they're also the longest hours on set. sometimes 8, 9, 10 hours, whatever, and seeing 70 plus people in a city for 2 days in a row. And yet, because of Harry and Ryan and Jen, it was just always like summer camp. So I'm really going to miss that. I think we just, it feels more like family than friendship, and I think that will continue after Idol, for me, certainly, yeah. Gosh, I got a lot of moments, I think. Most of them end up on the cutting room floor of comebacks from Harry at Audition City days. I hope they do an Idol bloopers reel. That would be amazing. I'd love to get a copy of that. Well, tonight was incredible. I think they both had moments where the song and their abilities were just perfectly matched, and it really played to their strengths. Trent particularly tonight. LaPorsha's a phenomenal singer, so it was never a question she was going to, for me, never a question she was going to be here. I thought it was all hers until Trent came out and sang, and I thought this is a really, really close race, so tomorrow night's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's a song called Fallen. I wrote it with Brett James and Dallas Davidson, and I had written it last year for my record with a lot of songs. We were writing lots and lots of songs, and that one just sort of fell by the wayside a little bit as I was focusing on other songs, and the next thing I knew, they called me to ask if I'd be cool with Trent singing it, and I was all for it, and then I heard his version of it. I thought it was amazing. I was singing along tonight with it, and Jen said, "How do you know this song?" No, because a lot of the time we don't see them, and if we do, it's while we're at the desk, and I'm just seeing bits and pieces of it, and there's stuff going on, so... I wish I could sometimes see more of it, because it would, people at home are wondering why particularly when you're critiquing in that phase, they're wondering why you're being so harsh on someone, given the story, the heart-wrenching story, which we didn't see, so. Oh, I did an album listening party today, and I started with an Merle Haggard song because he was a big part of my youth growing up. My dad had several Merle Haggard records, and I've got to see him play many times. We have an event every year called All for the Hall that I do with Vince Gill, and Merle came in one time and participated in that as well. So I got to play with him, and he comes from that line of just unfiltered truth tellers, and he just wrote some of the most iconic country songs of all time. He's really going to be missed. In a lot of ways, I always think, for me, if I give advice, it's probably advice I need to hear. It's probably why I'm giving it, So I'm always aware of that. But I think I'm grateful to have been a part of these 4 seasons of Idol. It's an iconic show, and to have been a part of these 4 seasons has been a real blessing for me, to be able to be in people's living rooms and for people to get to know me a little bit. I really have been grateful for that opportunity.
You know what? One thing that I love about Trent performing, and I can literally listen to him all day, every day, is the fact that he's so genuine, no matter what he's singing about. Trent puts not 100, 200, he puts 1,000% of himself just into the performance. And not just from a performance perspective or a vocalist perspective, but Trent is such an amazing person behind the scenes. There's been days I doubted myself. Trent would, Trent's been there for me, and for all of us, and he's just so inspirational. He prays with me before each performance. He encourages me when I'm doubting myself. So, at this point in time, I feel like Trent really deserves it, and I love him so much.
Me sugar. Thank you. I don't know if anybody realizes this or not, but this is you got some
Yeah.
You got the top 2 from the same state in one of the greatest reality singing competitions in the history of television, and we are actually friends.
Yeah.
We're not just friends when we're up
Yeah.
here. We at night we still text and talk. Just a while back I said, Portia, I was sitting on my balcony and I took a creeper shot of her across the balcony. I said, I see you, girl. It's so good because if you walk down our hallways at night, I've given you guys this answer before, but if you walk down the hall at night, you're gonna hear this one singing at 2:00 in the morning, and you're gonna hear me singing.
Yep.
And she knows how to work. She knows how to work. And I feel like it has paid off. It has benefited her. She's reaping the benefits of staying up all those nights, And she's doing it for her baby.
Yeah. I think just to use the momentum of this blessing, because that's what it is, and we've been blessed enough to be a part of the final finale, and so of the final season of American Idol, and so we've gotten so much coverage, so much exposure, and so I think now it's just really important for us to take that momentum and do the best we can to kind of jumpstart our careers using that.
Yeah, to quote, my best good friend, Mr. Dalton Rapatoni, he said, "Man, we are so lucky to be able to be on the last season rather than any other season." He said,
Yeah.
"Because man, we're getting press like nobody's ever gotten." And if you think of idols past, you're going to think of Kelly, and you're going to think of all the great ones in between, but you're going to think of the last ones, the last three to stand on the stage. You're going to think of those forever. We're going to stay relevant for many, many years, and that's something that none of us had the foresight to see a year ago when we auditioned. We were too busy working.
I don't think it's pressure. I think it's such an honor that we just want to make sure we continue proving ourselves year after year, album after album, song after song, proving ourselves to America that they didn't make a mistake on choosing one of us to be their final American Idol. So
if you had asked me that question probably a month ago, I would say absolutely, yeah, man, heck yeah. But Idol has prepared us so well. I mean, to do what we're doing right now, to do what we do on the stage, how to put on my makeup. I would say that the only job, really harder than what we do is maybe on Sunday mornings. A preacher probably has a harder job than what we do, and a soldier. But other than that, it's one of the hardest jobs I've ever had in my life. And I feel like we're prepared to do whatever we want to go do, whatever that is.
I think probably the moments we chose, because we chose those songs because at that moment we realized, I think I can speak for both of us, just how much America loved us. Like we just kind of put our heart and souls on stage, and the response that each of us got on each of those performances was just so, overwhelming and magnificent that, I think that's the moment we shine the most. It was almost like coming into our own on both of those performances. So,
I would absolutely, that would be a better answer than what I had, actually. I was just going to say my very, very first audition that aired on TV, I've never had anything like that happen, and I didn't get to watch it because I was at work. But I watched it that night, I DVR'd it, and I just came across as kind of just this dumb, ignorant, not in a bad way. I was just up there playing guitar and singing, and I looked normal. I looked happy, and I had no idea what was going to happen. And I feel like the perception that people got on the other end of the TV was good. I was like, I'd hang out with that guy. He looks pretty normal. And so I was proud of myself that I had prepared, and I didn't even know I was preparing for that to happen.
So we've been working for a lot of weeks. Really, once we get to the live shows, we start thinking about, okay, if so-and-so wins, what are we going to do? And literally, once we get to that final four, it's like, okay, if Mackenzie wins, we will do this, Dalton, Trent, LaPorsha, etc. So we have two very specific plans in place depending on who wins tomorrow night. And if Trent wins, we're going to go to Nashville and make a country record with him. And then if LaPorsha wins, I have already created a joint venture with Motown. So it would be Big Machine Motown. And Ethiopia, the president of Motown, has been in the last several shows, and Harmony is the one who produced her single. So we're ready. Bring it. I think that very early on we established that if you're going to win, you're going to have to beat LaPorsha. So I think she came in strong, and she has stayed strong. If you look at who is the most improved and who has transformed, that's Trent. And Jennifer called this 5 or 6 weeks ago. She goes, I think this is our final. And she goes, you are the two best when it comes to the vocal runs. And here we have it. I love this because this is really an epic battle now. The judges didn't get a chance to get the question posed to them after the third round because we ran out of time. But I think all the judges would tell you that Trent won the third round. Jennifer said LaPorsha won the second round. So, you know, if you saw the show last night, The History of American Idol, when Jennifer Hudson went out 7th, you can't assume that anybody's going to win. It's going to be who's most engaged. If you look socially, Trent has outsold LaPorsha at iTunes 2-1. You know, what does that mean? So it is on. I think we have an epic battle for the final American Idol. Well, you know, as you kind of brought up a minute ago, I have the opportunity to sign any of them, right? If you watch this back later tonight, and see who really left it all on the stage tonight. Trent left it all on the stage tonight. LaPorsha can do that at the drop of a hat. But as far as really going out and knocking it out, I think Trent has the edge. So I will be proud, honestly. This is not the PC answer. This is the truth. I will be proud to work with either one of them. I really will be. They're both fantastic. You know what? I thought on the coronation songs that Trent's was the strongest. I know what LaPorsha can do with that song, and I don't think she pushed herself enough. And it's a great song. But I think that, again, it's something we talk to them about from the first minute I meet them, and the judges talk about this every week. You have to leave it all on the stage. And I thought I think she left the door open a little bit, because we've all seen her drop the mic. And while she did really good tonight, I think she lit him off the mat a little bit. Well, I don't know if it's seeing her struggle enough, because she's doing the work, absolutely, and she really wants this. And I think that one of the things we've been trying to teach her, working with all the vocal coaches all season, is to warm up. If you go back and see some of the early performances, her voice is a little bit shredded right now. Even when you talk to her, there's more of an edge on her voice than there was just 6-7 weeks ago. And we have been on her every day about warm up. Don't sing so hard until it's time to do that. So I think there's another gear there, but because we work them so hard that, you know, we're not hearing everything that she has to give. She's having to push a little harder right now, and it's not anything that, if you look back at all the idols, you know, when Kelly had laryngitis, et cetera, you got to push through it. So the great thing about LaPorsha that I know working with her is there's even another gear that you haven't seen completely yet. What have I learned about myself being a mentor on the show? Patience. You know, I'm always trying to define what I do when I get asked this question, and it's a never-changing answer, but this is the answer that I've landed on for this year. And my job at its core is identifying potential and helping you realize that potential. And that's what's so much fun about this show, is every Friday we start with song selections, and we build the show around those song selections. And there's so much satisfaction when you get it right. And you look at how many times our contestants got it right this season. So I think what I've learned about myself as a mentor is to be forceful at the right time and to back off at the right time. I hope that I've gotten better in that space. You know, you have to vote, right? It's a competition. Kelly's won it. If she feels that strongly about supporting LaPorsha, then we all know Kelly Clarkson. There's no filter there. If that's how she feels, then I love it, because this season has been so loud. And seeing everybody back in the last few days around the Dolby, you know, seeing all of them back. And the Open tomorrow, Nigel Lithgow promises to have all of us crying within the first 3 minutes tomorrow. So, you know, I think just the noise that's being made and how much excitement there is about LaPorsha and Trent and about this farewell season, you know, tomorrow's going to be like the Super Bowl of Idol. It's really going to be fantastic. The question is, how has Idol evolved, basically, as far as the package of the winner? It had no choice but to evolve. In the beginning, Kelly didn't know anything except being a great singer. and she didn't have to worry about social media or a lot of the other things. A lot of the things back when we controlled so much of it as record companies and management companies and gatekeepers, it's like, okay, we can teach you the rest. We can teach you how to do an interview. We can teach you how to tour. Now everything's so transparent that you've got to come in with a better knowledge of engagement and social media, et cetera. So it's actually a lot harder to win. It's even harder to cut through the noise now.